Sanders.
Very good Thursday night to you all. This is Impact Showdown Radio coming at you live right now on Blog Talk Radio and over at our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com. Special shout out to those of you that are listening to us right now live on Stitcher. If you don't have that Stitcher app, make sure you go check it out right now. It is free in the App Store. We have the chat room that's opened up right now waiting for you all. Feel free to jump on in there when you get a free chance. We also have the Twitter. You know, you can interact with us during the course of this episode as it's live in progress right now. Hit us up at Infinity One Prod. While you're at it, check us out on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Like our page while you're at it. So, we saw a lackluster episode of Impact Wrestling from this past Thursday, and you, the TNA Wrestling fans, you let your voices be heard. You had expressed your frustration. You had expressed the thought of always seeing Aces and Eights and TNA have their little rivalries end up starting off in a brawl, and then it ends in a brawl to end the episode. Y'all wanted a little bit more variety. Well, it looks like we had actually got that tonight as things did switch up a bit, so to speak. Definitely a more executed episode when compared to last week. We'll get you guys caught up on the fallout in case you might have missed tonight's episode. We'll also be opening up the phone lines in a later part of the show, get you all's reactions, and give you a few programming notes on what you can expect from us coming up this weekend as we have a pay-per-view that we have to cover, a wrestling pay-per-view at that. More details on that in just a little bit, folks. So let's talk about tonight's Impact Wrestling here, where one of the main key storylines of the night had to do with the Aces and Eights, as Aces and Eights with Devon. Devon reveals that he got word from the president that under no circumstances are any of the Aces and Eights members allowed to take off their mask. They cannot lose their mask. If they lose their mask, basically they are out of the group. That's going to be a serious cut of their money, so they cannot lose their mask. Devon also reveals to his fellow members that they're going to be having some fun tonight, as there's some girls that they get to have a little fun with, but first they have to take care of a little bit of business, which is giving that trademark beatdown calling card to somebody on the TNA roster. Now, we actually saw the Bang-like character of Aces and Eights grab a dart, and he threw it at a random picture of a TNA wrestler. There was many pictures of TNA wrestlers scattered on the board, and we were not able to see who it was that had got the unfortunate dart. As Devon and the other Aces and Eights members, they love where this dart has landed, so they know who their target is going to be later on in the night. And of course, one of the other main highlights of tonight's episode was that it was championship night. That's right, every single championship was on the line as the respected champion had to defend their title. This episode really it was almost like watching a free pay-per-view. That is really the best way I can describe tonight's TNA Impact Wrestling. And the first title that we had saw on the line was the X Division Championship, as Rob Van Dam had took on Zema Ion. You knew it was just going to be a matter of time, folks, before that rematch clause was going to be invoked. And what better time than tonight, as Zema Ion was looking to win back his X Division title. Another great outing by the young Zema Ion. Another great match they picked up right where they had left off from the TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view just 2 weeks ago. But when it was all said and done, RVD was able to pick up the defense, and he was able to pick up the win on young Zema Ion. So, at least for now, so to speak, it looks like Zema Ion is out of the picture. What could be next for Rob Van Dam, who knows? But Rob Van Dam, Zema Ion, it is looking as though that rivalry is officially now done. We also had got to see the television championship on the line as Samoa Joe put it up against Big Robbie. Very, very intense match right here. You know, this match really put a smile on my face in a way that hasn't happened in quite a long time. And it was mainly because I got to see Big Robbie in singles competition. I can't remember the last time I saw him in singles competition. It was one of those type of deals where I even said it a couple of weeks back on Impact Showdown Radio. I said, with a guy like Big Robbie, he has that look, he's got that awesome physique. I mean, he just looks like a freaking killer. He looks like he should be wearing championship gold. I was very surprised at the way TNA had been utilizing him these past few years, and particularly the way they've been utilizing him as of late, just having him be a valet to Robbie E. I've been wanting Big Robbie to break away for a long time and get back on that singles career path, and it was just really exciting for me to be able to see Big Robbie doing his thing one-on-one. He looks like he has come a little bit of a ways when last we had saw him in the ring on a regular basis. I don't know if maybe I might have overread that a little bit too much, but I'm just thinking about from the few times he was in singles competition earlier, and I'm comparing it to what I saw tonight, he looked more impressive than way back when. Maybe it actually had helped him a little bit when he had went on down to Ring Ka King, TNA's indie wrestling promotion, and he was doing his thing down there for a little bit. Must have picked up a thing or two. In either case, whatever it was that he was doing down there, it definitely showed in the ring. Now, let's talk about a backstage pass that had happened after this match, as we immediately had saw Big Rob Terry and Little Robbie E talking with SoCal Val, and they were complaining about Samoa Joe's finishing maneuver. You know, that rear naked chokehold that he likes applying to folks when he lays them out in the ring. That's how he's been able to pick up a vast majority of his wins as of late. We saw a furious Big Robbie complaining of that submission hold maneuver, saying that it should be banned from TNA Wrestling. Why it is allowed, they don't know, but we just see them being very furious. But Big Robbie promising Samoa Joe that what's going on between the two of them is not over by a long shot. Really a nice little backstage pass right there. We also had got to see Austin Aries take on Mr. Anderson. Now, the way this match ended up happening was a result of Hulk Hogan going through a series of eliminations throughout the night to determine who was going to be facing Jeff Hardy for his TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, the contenders, one of them being Mr. Anderson, was also the Cowboy, James Storm, Kurt Angle, and Bully Ray. Mr. Anderson would be the first one to be eliminated, as Hulk Hogan had went round table with all the guys in his office, asking them why they feel they should be the ones to get the shot to face Jeff Hardy. Now, we see all the guys guys making very valid points, but when it comes time for Mr. Anderson to lay claim, Anderson does something that's a little bit of he shouldn't have done that. That was a bad move, which was he complained about the process to Hulk Hogan. He thought that the process was just downright silly, that there's really no reason for him to be proving himself, to be saying anything to Hulk Hogan on a week-to-week basis, that all of these meetings in his office for this, it's just stupid. Bad words, bad choice of words at that. Hulk Hogan eliminates Mr. Anderson first, so we're now down 2-3. Now, we see Austin Aries, who's outside of the Hulkster's office, and he had promised that he was going to be making fun of the eliminated contenders throughout the course of the night, just really rubbing it in their face. He was also taking nice hot shots at Hulk Hogan, comparing some of his bad movies such as Mr. Nanny to Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, Thunder in Paradise being better than Baywatch. I mean, he was really just pushing that sarcastic envelope. Really witty, really funny stuff right here. If you're a younger wrestling fan, you wouldn't know anything about those shows and probably don't know anything about those movies. Netflix would be your best friend right there. But for us older wrestling fans, we definitely got a chuckle out of that. We also saw Mr. Anderson after he got eliminated. He crossed paths with Austin Aries, and Austin Aries told him, tough break. Once I become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, you're not going to have this problem anymore, because I'll actually give you a title match. You don't have to beg for it, nothing. And we see Mr. Anderson, he pretty much goes, I don't need your handout, and Austin Aries just capitalizes on that, throws it right back at Anderson's face and say, well, you're going to need these handouts because, quite honestly, I'm a better wrestler than you. Hell, I'm a better asshole than you. And the two of these guys, they just start fighting, and it pretty much ends with Austin Aries on the ground after being hit with a painting. That painting looked like it really did not hurt worth a damn, but why Austin Aries is on his knees and all fours, I don't know, but apparently that's how devastating this painting was that had fell on him. And we see Austin Aries send the challenge out to Mr. Anderson that he wants to face him in the ring later in the night. Did anybody happen to notice the poor, I guess it was a cameraman that was in the back as this whole altercation was going down between these two? Did anybody happen to notice the guy that yelled, "Cut! Next scene"? I just thought that was so funny. It was amazing because, we were watching the Twitter feeds and we were checking out some of the things that you guys were saying. And for those of you that had took the time to interact with us during tonight's episode, Matt, shout out to you. We appreciate it. There were so many people that had just tweeted that out at the same time. #ImpactCut. It was just really a funny moment right there. One of the things that we also need to talk about with regards to tonight's Impact Wrestling, a bit of an awkward moment, and I know I would probably be set on fire by you guys if I didn't mention it, because it was one of the main topics that was just being thrown our way throughout the night. What did you think of the commentating between Jeremy Borash and Todd? And for those of you that are not aware, especially if you didn't watch Backstage Pass, as JB had revealed later on in the night, apparently this guy named Todd, who him and JB, they had struck up a conversation, I guess over the weekend or a few days ago, and they were just gelling really good, and somehow these two just ended up commentating the first hour of Impact tonight. And I know some people, they looked at this and they were like, these guys, they were better than Taz. Heck, even Todd was better than Taz. Honestly, I just was not feeling the Todd guy. No disrespect to Jeremy Borash. I'm used to his voice. His voice has a nice, I won't say a silky vibe to it, but there's just something about Jeremy Borash's voice that keeps me into whatever it is that he's talking about. The Todd guy, he seemed a little bit out of place, referencing Michael Myers with Samoa Joe as he was applying that neck hold submission. That's not exactly what I think about when I look at Samoa Joe applying that submission hold. It sounds like Todd might have been watching a marathon of Halloween that's been airing all this night on AMC. Lay off the Halloween, buddy, okay? In the meantime, to answer you guys' question, I thought the commentating was awkward. I've heard better. I actually preferred the pairing of Jeremy Borash and Mike Tenay. I thought that was better. I think we all can be in agreement that Taz, sometimes he has his moments. Other times, Taz is just there, just really babbling a bunch of rhetoric. We can agree with that. But looking at the team of Jeremy Borash and Todd tonight, I just was not sold on it. I literally was just begging at my TV to let it be hour 2 because I wanted to see Taz and Mike Tenay already. And their timing was just perfect as they actually took over at the top of the hour during the Knockouts Championship match between Tara and Miss Tesslocker. Did anybody else happen to notice the awkwardness that we had got when we had saw the changing of the guard, if you will? I mean, very funny. You have Mike Tenay and Taz sitting at the table, and you got Jeremy Borash and Todd just standing behind them, and it would just look totally awkward, and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't what we need to be seeing. Can't you guys, like, maybe pull up 2 more chairs and have them sit on the outside and be like, hey, you know, you guys did a good job, blah, blah, blah. It just really looked very awkward, and I think the tweet that Zed had sent out, which had got retweeted a couple of times, I think what he said was perfect. He said, and I quote, watching JB and Todd switch commentating with Mike Tenay and Taz was like watching 2 security guards changing shifts. Very awkward but funny, and I couldn't agree more. It was really awkward, truly hilarious. It's something I actually don't want to see again. That's just how awkward that damn thing looked. But, you know, we had got a great knockouts match between Miss Tara and Miss Tesslocker, who unfortunately had that new boyfriend of hers. I'm talking about Tara, had that new boyfriend of hers, Jesse. You know Jesse, don't you? The guy that does things on TMZ, and the guy that also had one, or he didn't win. He was on Big Brother, not once but twice. That guy. You probably are like, who? No, I don't know who that is. Well, that's his name, Jesse Big Brother, yada, yada, yada. Well, very impressive knockouts match right here between Miss Tara and Tesslocker. Probably actually one of my favorite highlights of the night, I must say. No disrespect to the RVD Ion match, no disrespect to the Samoa Joe versus Big Robbie, or the Austin Aries taking on Anderson, which I haven't even highlighted yet, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But for me, Tara versus Tesslocker, that was one of the main highlights of the night, aside from the main event, as those 2 girls, they really had enough time to tell their story in the ring. I loved it. I didn't appreciate Jesse getting hands-on in the contest as the ref had got distracted at a critical point, and we actually had saw Jesse pull on the ropes as Tesslocker was trying to bounce off of the ropes looking for an offensive maneuver on Tara. I mean, she just goes flying out of the ring, and she just lands really awkward on the mat outside, and we see Jesse pick her up, pushes her back in, basically setting up Tara to do the widow's peak on Tesslocker to successfully retain her knockouts title. Now, we saw Brooke Hogan make an appearance, and she had informed Tara and Jesse that she's aware of how they're playing the game, and she admitted she didn't like what she was seeing, but she also revealed that next week a ticked-off ODB is going to be looking for action, and she's going to be challenging, drumroll please, Jesse to a match, as next week is the Open Fight Night edition of Impact Wrestling. So it looks like poor little Jesse is going to be slapped around like a biatch next week. I definitely want to hear what you guys think about that. The way Jesse's TNA career is kicking off so far not exactly too good. I mean, this guy is just really reeking of Little Robbie right now. I so wish this was Little Robbie's role right now because he would really do it justice. Now, we also got to saw that match I was just telling you guys about a few seconds ago, but I didn't go into great detail about it, which was Austin Aries taking on Mr. Anderson. This was, without a doubt, a good match. And let's pick it up towards the end, as there was a critical point that had occurred where, unfortunately, the referee, he missed a ton of stuff that had happened in the ring. Now, critical point, we see Austin Aries. He busts out a pair of brass knuckles from his trunks, and he realizes he's not going to be able to hit Mr. Anderson with it in time. So what ends up happening is Mr. Anderson, he's able to counter, and he's able to stun Aries for a bit. He grabs the brass knuckles, and he's trying to connect to the face of Aries. But we see the referee, in this case, young Brian Hebner, he sees the brass knuckles, and he's thinking about calling the match, but Anderson's trying to tell him what had happened. And so we see Hebner, he grabs the brass knuckles, and he goes to put him out the ring. At this point, Austin Aries, clever guy right here, grabs another pair of brass knuckles from his trunks. There's a lot of stuff he's got in his trunks right there. I mean, he's got like a whole freaking utility belt in there. Pulls out another pair of brass knuckles, just out codes Mr. Anderson. I mean, he just knocks him out cold, and Anderson is just standing there. And we see Austin Aries, he just grabs him, and he just goes for that wicked Horns of Aries finishing maneuver. Hebner, he's trying to see if Anderson is going to tap out, but he realizes Anderson is just totally out cold, just glazed look in his eyes. Anderson is not being responsive. What ends up happening? Well, we see young Hebner call the match. Austin Aries has won. So there you have it. Austin Aries picks up a very controversial win over Mr. Anderson. Of course, one of the main key highlights of the night, storyline-wise, again, aces and eights, as it's now time for our next elimination. And it blends so perfectly into the segment involving aces and eights, as Hulk Hogan needs to make his next elimination. Well, this time around, if you've been keeping track, we now have Kurt Angle, the Cowboy James Storm, and Bully Ray. Now, Hulk Hogan, he decides to pick on the brains of Kurt Angle and James Storm, get their reaction to how they feel Bully Ray's head just might not be into this big decision of trying to determine who's going to be the number one contender to face Jeff Hardy. And we see both of them respectively. They say, you know what, no disrespect to Bully Ray, but no, his mind isn't in the game right now. His mind isn't focused on this. His mind is on Devon, aces, and eights. And both guys, they agree that their mind would be on that as well if it was them. And so we see Hulk Hogan. He tries to give that last kick out to Bully Ray and say to him, brother, tell me why you think you deserve this. And we see Bully Ray, he's just straight up honest with the Hulkster. He says, you know what, my mind is on Devon and aces and eights right now. If you don't give me a title shot, Hogan, you know what, I'm just going to go immediately right down to the ring. I'm going to call out Devon, aces and eights. I'm going to confront him man-to-man, face-to-face. Hulk Hogan tells Bully Ray, you made the decision easy for me. Bully Ray, you're eliminated. Bully Ray's like, say no more, I'm gone. So that's it. So it's now down to the Cowboy and the Olympic Machine. So we see Bully Ray keep his word. He goes down to the ring. He does call out Devon. And what was probably one of the best segments of the night, we actually saw Bully Ray and Devon face-to-face for the first time now since that controversial unmasking at Bound for Glory. We see Devon say to Bully Ray, none of this concerns you. as always, you're sticking your nose in business that you don't belong in. This has to do with Hogan. This is who it's all about. Devon reveals that when his contract was up in TNA, and Hulk Hogan was sitting up saying how much he loved Devon, how much he wanted to bring him back into the TNA, how much of a good fighting television champion he was. And then when he was out of a job, Hulk Hogan, TNA President Dixie Carter, nobody called him, nobody sent him a card, nobody visited him, nothing really hurt Devon. And the only people that actually pretended or came off as if they gave a damn about him was Aces and Eights, as he revealed that they had picked him up and they basically carried him. They were his support system. And, you see Devon, he's saying all these things, and I couldn't help but pick this up and say to myself, okay, so Bully Ray has pretty much been there for you for like 20-plus years, and Aces and Eights, they've been there for you just recently. This is really where you're going to draw your alliance. That was really the main thought in my head, but it is what it is. We see Bully Ray. He picks up on something that Devon had said last week, which was Payback being a bitch, all about how Devon had his son got attacked by Bully Ray, as Bully had put his kid through a table, and Devon's still reeling off of that. And we just see Bully Ray, he's very passionate, very sincere with Devon, letting him know, hey, 2 years ago we had that retirement match with the Motor City Machine Guns. We were supposed to go out on top. We were supposed to go out with the tag team championships. That didn't happen. You remember what you had said to me when we lost that match to the Motor City? You remember what you said to me in the locker room? Just think about it here. Remember how we did our finishing maneuver? And we did that maneuver like we have always done in every single wrestling promotion that we've worked for. Remember how you sat up and we didn't pick up the win from that finisher. And we just see Bully Ray mention how in WWF, WWE, ECW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, we just hear Bully Ray mention all these wrestling promotions, really great pop right here. Mention to Devon how this was the first time that somebody kicked out of their finisher, and how Bully Ray was beating himself up in the backstage area, really not sure what to make of it. And the words that Devon said to him was, why are you beating yourself up? Who the hell cares? It's all about the money. That was basically Devon's message. And we see Bully Ray challenge Devon to deny it, but Devon doesn't deny it. He backs up what was said, and he feels that that's exactly what it's all about. It's all about the money because the fans don't care about him. Well, Bully Ray sends out a very strong challenge to Devon, telling him he wants to face him one-on-one without those damn Aces and Eights, and to face him right then and there on the spot. We see Devon tell Bully Ray he's going to face him on his time and on his terms, and in the meantime, he's going to be going home with his brothers. Bully Ray lets Devon know that he has no balls, that for his entire career, Devon has had to rely on other people. He's been hiding behind other people. Bully Ray telling Devon that he's been the one that has been carrying him all these years, and also lets him know that there's something called Open Fight Night coming up next week, and that when it's all said and done, he's going to be sending him a challenge. He's going to be challenging him to a match next week, and promises that his ass is going to be going through a table. Big highlight for next week right there. Crowd was really behind Bully Ray. I just cannot stress this enough. Really great segment, and, I honestly believe that TNA Wrestling now knows what exactly they have on their hands right here. Remember what we were saying last week on Impact Showdown Radio? We said, if TNA Creative does this right, if they put as much energy and creativity into the James Storm Robert Roode match, which looks like it's winding down, looks like it might be in the books now, and they put that same energy on a Bully Ray Devon, they could have a really great storied rivalry on their hands to take them maybe the next 4 or 5 months. And this was really a good jump start to that. Remember what I said last week? I also said that if they do this right, you don't really have Devon wrestle any more matches. At this point, you have the wrestling fans pay to see him get his ass beat. That's really the bigger payoff. So it's really nice to see this right step going in a positive direction. Let's hope that trend continues. Let's take it up now with that main event match of the night, which saw Jeff Hardy taking on Kurt Angle. What can you say about Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle? Every time these two guys lock it up, and I mean, we don't mean to sound redundant, but we're speaking the gospel here. Every single time these two guys hook up, they always have a 5-star quality type of match. Now, this match, hands down, great match of the night. I mean, 5-star quality type of match right here. And it was for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Nice little bonus right there. When I say you guys got to see basically a free pay-per-view almost tonight, you really did. So I really hope you guys were able to set your DVRs for this. Maybe you could try to burn yourself a copy, put this in your personal collection. Really something nice to have, I feel. Great 5-star quality type of match between these two guys that just kept going back and forth. Love the beautiful Swanton bomb that Jeff Hardy had delivered from the top rope on Kurt Angle. As after that, Kurt Angle was just spitting up blood. I mean, it was looking really bad for the Olympic gold medalist. When it was all said and done, though, the back and forth, just the brutal encounter that it was, we actually did see Jeff Hardy pick up the retain, still your TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, as highlights were being shown from their match, as soon as we come back, we see that Jeff Hardy is laid out. We're like, what the hell is going on here? Apparently, during the highlights, Austin Aries attacked him from behind, and he revealed that he's going to be bringing up that whole TNA World Heavyweight Championship rematch. Remember, he still has a rematch clause in his contract. Well, folks, looks like it's going to be going down at the Turning Point pay-per-view. That's right, it's going to be Austin Aries taking on Jeff Hardy. Now, you would think this would probably end the night, right? No. It doesn't end the night. In fact, what actually ended the night was Aces and Eights, as Mike Tenay and Taz revealed that they had got word from the backstage area that somebody was being attacked. So we see camera footage now of Aces and Eights beating up the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. And that is what had ended tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm combining it with an awkward segment that I had saw earlier in the night. And I, on purpose, did not mention this segment because I wanted to really break this segment down, because I was looking at it and I said, I wonder. Now, I don't want you guys thinking I'm bashing it here, but I got to keep it real. I got to be brutally honest with you guys. And I think you guys will appreciate what I'm getting ready to say about this segment. For some of you guys, it'll ring a bell. For some of you, it might have just went over your head because you might not have been paying attention. The segment I'm talking about concerns Joseph Park talking with Hulk Hogan in his office. Now, we see Joseph Park say to the Hulkster, you just got to put me in a match against somebody in Aces and Eights. We see Hulk Hogan tell Joseph, hey, that is a bad idea. Don't think that should happen. Can't be held responsible for whatever they do to you. And we see Joseph Park say, you know what? Thought about that. Know a way to counter that. Here's a contract that myself, my colleagues drew up at Park and Park that will relieve you, TNA, Dixie Carter, even Spike TV, of all ties to me. And we see Hulk Hogan, he tells Park, okay, this is something that you really want, and Park says, yeah, as a matter of fact, this is something that I really want. And, you know, honestly, if you can't be with me on this, then please, Hulkster, don't be in my way. And we see Hogan tell Joseph, okay, you know what, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to get back with you. Now, the key thing here during this segment, Joseph Park, as he was giving this plea to the Hulkster, he actually tells the Hulkster, hey, look, I remember what Aces and Eights had did to me, keeping me captive. At least they fed me, but they treated me like an animal. And I'm just hearing all this, and I'm saying to myself, so wait a minute. You remember how Aces and Eights did you. You remember how they basically kind of starved you. You remember how they tortured you. You, without a doubt, remember them hitting you over the head with a hammer after you had sat up and said that you knew their identities, and that since you knew who they were, even though they destroyed your laptop, the memories were still in your head. So here's some food for thought for you guys. Since Joseph Park seems to remember all of these things, and luckily, by the grace of who knows what, Joseph Park has not been running around with some type of a bandage over his head. So he obviously knows who the guys in Aces and Eights are. Why are we continuing to see this long, dragged-out expedition of the Aces and Eights here? Basically what I'm saying here, folks, is TNA has a storyline that has a loophole in it. It has a little problem that needs to be plugged ASAP. And until you have that problem nipped in the bud, at this point it really does not make sense seeing Joseph Park on TNA television. Just think about it, and I think you guys can definitely appreciate what I'm saying here. If Joseph Park's memory is still intact, and he's not showing any signs of being injured, and he's going around, oh, I want a match, and I remember what they did to me, that kind of defeats almost the whole purpose of having Devon be the president of the Aces and Eights, and thus Devon telling all the Aces and Eights members they need to keep their mask on and to not reveal their identities to anybody. So what's going to need to happen right here, the only way I see this really being nipped in the bud is over the course of the next couple of weeks, maybe leading up into Turning Point, maybe we could see an angle happen here where Joseph Park, he does tell Hogan, hey, I still know who these guys are. You know, I'm going to go out in the ring right now and I'm going to reveal who they are, or something to that effect, and we see Aces and Eights, they're able to intercept him, and they basically take him out in a way that'll leave him out of commission for several weeks while Aces and Eights can do their own thing. And then maybe we could see Joseph Park come back as Abyss, and that could just be the result of the beatdown that he had got from the hands of Aces and Eights. It did a little something weird to his head. Honestly, folks, I thought that was going to be the case when he got attacked with that hammer initially, but then we saw like a couple of weeks later he's eating takeout food and he's not wearing a bandage over his head. I didn't want to say anything at that point because I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe this is going to play out the way that I'm thinking. But now that it's been a couple of weeks now and we're past the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, to still see Joseph running around, I mean, you guys got to admit, it's a little mind-boggling right here, without a doubt. So the way I'm looking at this right now, we got Joseph Park, who is just eagerly anticipating wanting a piece of the Aces and Eights. As I said, that's one area that could be taken with Joseph. Another angle that could be taken, it could still lead into the same thing. We could actually see Joseph Park perhaps team up with the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle to maybe take on two random members of Aces and Eights at the Turning Point pay-per-view. I love the subtle touch, though, at the end of Impact Wrestling tonight as we see Kurt Angle. He's laid out. He's got his beat down from the Aces and Eights handed to him. And we see young Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe come to his aid. I just thought that was a really nice little subtle touch, as we really have not seen these two guys in a good minute over the course of several weeks, especially Garrett Bischoff. It seems like ever since Devon had left, we really hadn't seen anything of him. Good things to look forward to on next Thursday night's Impact Wrestling Live, as once again we're going to have Open Fight Night edition, as it's TNA Gut Check. We got Christian York, who used to team up with Joey Mercury several years back. This guy's been in the wrestling business for 16 years. Father Time is starting to catch up with him. He's trying to seize the moment right now, trying to get a TNA contract. He feels as though he can't keep fighting what's happening with his body as every year passes and he's aging more and more. He feels this might be his last opportunity to make it to the big leagues. Will next Thursday night be his night? We shall see. We also have Bully Ray, who's going to be challenging Devon. Now, the real question is, will Devon be accepting this match? You know, if this is Aces and Eights, they got to be a little rebellious right here. You know, last I checked, unless I'm wrong, Devon is not tied to a TNA wrestling contract. He just spontaneously popped up with the Aces and Eights. So when you think about the Aces and Eights, you're kind of led to the impression that these guys are able to do what they want to do when they want to do it, that they are not tied down by a TNA wrestling contract. So it would be a little bit of a WTF moment if we actually did see Devon in a match with Bully Ray. So here's looking into that crystal ball and really hoping that the booking is right on this one, where Devon does not take on Bully Ray. And we'll also have ODB taking on Jesse. That should be a very interesting segment of its own. Of course, without a doubt, they have to follow up on what had happened with Kurt Angle being jumped. Of course, we got the whole Joseph Park thing going on. So a lot to look forward to next week. You know, something else that had eluded us, I almost forgot about this, as it was kind of that insignificant. We actually saw the former TNA Tag Team Champions, Chavo and Hernandez. They had a petition that was going around in the Impact Arena trying to get a rematch against Chavo and Hernandez for those titles, as they felt they got screwed, and they don't like the fact that everybody else has gotten their rematches except for them. And we actually did see Chavo and Hernandez come out, and they did tell the two guys that if they wanted their rematch, they could have it at any time, any place. And they actually signed the petition, letting them know that, hey, they got the tag champions' full support for a rematch. So when I look back on it now, it was kind of really an insignificant segment. I think I skipped it on purpose because of just the context of the way Daniels and Kazarian were bashing Chavo and Hernandez. I just thought that they should have been better than what they were putting out tonight, as they were pulling the race card. They were bashing Chavo and Hernandez for their Mexican heritage and saying that they needed to come out in ponchos and call themselves those stereotypicals. And I just really did not like that. I kind of liked the fact that Daniels had picked up on Chavo always giving praise to the late Eddie Guerrero, trying to win the fans over, basically play a little suck up. I liked that touch, but everything else after that, Daniels, Kazarian, all they were talking about was just racist in my book, and I just kind of felt it was a little bit too tacky. For me, it was too tacky hearing Daniels and Kazarian go that route, because as long as I've been watching these guys, it just seemed like they've never had to stoop to that level. It just kind of seemed like a desperate attempt to me, and so I guess that's why I probably paid this particular segment no mind. But, with regards to Impact Wrestling tonight, like I said, it was the championship edition. You really couldn't go wrong with this episode. Great matches, a lot of action. Not too many matches, though. We only got 5 matches total, but it was still overall a good experience. Not really too much of the Hulkster, which could please a lot of fans. It should please a lot of fans, as really his segments just had to do with trying to figure out who was going to be taking on Jeff Hardy for the main belt and having that conversation with who was that they had that conversation with? It'll come to me in a second. I can't remember. Joseph Park right there. We also did see Hulk Hogan have a conversation briefly with James Storm, letting him know that he had big things planned for him. So, taste of things to come, possibly on that Open Fight Night edition of Impact. But without a doubt, good episode, better executed than what we had got last week. And, surprisingly, with regards to the TNA Impact ratings from last week, it actually did exceptionally well. For those of you that might have missed it, we got the latest TNA Impact ratings from last Thursday's episode, as it was the post-Bound for Glory episode. It scored a 0.99 rating with 1.248 million viewers, just up by 15% from last Thursday's Impact Wrestling Live. So you got to go back to October the 11th, and that episode did a 0.86 rating with 1.118 million viewers. So you can only imagine how this episode's going to do. I would think this episode right here would manage to do a modest 1.01, maybe 1.03. I would be a little shocked if it had dipped into the low 90s again. I really would, because they did pretty good tonight. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to take a very brief commercial break. We'll come right back. We'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing this weekend, as WWE, they've got the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that's going to be coming up. So we'll give you a few programming notes, give you a quick rundown of what's been happening in TNA wrestling-related news since last we were on the air with you guys. And, of course, we'll definitely open up the phone lines and get you guys reactions to how you either liked or disliked tonight's show, or whether you have a comment on saw tonight or wrestling news headline-wise. So we'll jump right into all that. So we'll take a very brief commercial break, and then when we come right back, we'll just jump right into it. So we're going to take a very brief commercial break, and then we'll have at it. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on October 25th, 2012, 15 minutes away from the 11 o'clock p.m. hour. Good weekend is almost here, folks. We'll be coming right back. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about one or two quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is an app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad, and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have 2 cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
All right, and we are back. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show, our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com, also heard on Stitcher. Special shout out to all of you that's checking out this episode right now, live in progress on October 25th, 2012. You know, before we dive into TNA wrestling related news and open up the phone lines here, I definitely want to take this time out to just thank you, the listeners, for checking out this past Tuesday night's episode of our historic 100th episode of the RCWR Show, where we were joined by the lovely co-producer Tammy, wrestling sensation, the famous Justin Reno, Christian hip-hop artist Scooter. It was a great roundtable discussion. We were talking all things wrestling, talking about WWE Raw, talking about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view coming up. I mean, we just went all over the place talking all things wrestling. Mad shout-out to both of those guys for coming onto the show and doing mad overtime. They actually were only supposed to be on the show. Really, I was estimating 40 minutes, but we went like an hour plus just having a good time. And we're definitely going to try to do something like that for you guys, again, somewhere down the road, rest assured of that. But can't give enough praise to both of those guys for coming on to the show. It was really awesome. And, you know, if you're a Justin Reno fan, I get my J's mixed up, forgive me. If you're a Justin Reno fan, do the right thing, and especially if you've seen his matches that he's posted online, send a hashtag, send a tweet to TNA President Dixie Carter and Impact Wrestling. Let them know that Justin Reno needs to have his gut check match. He is that damn worthy of one. We need to see this guy be on the TNA roster. Can you just imagine the type of programs he would be able to do if he were to team up with Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan? That would really be an awesome moment right there, I feel. Send a tweet to them and let them know they need to try to get him onto the show. While you're at it, don't forget that Justin Reno, he's actually going to be in action this weekend as he is going to be having that match against Machine. That's going to be coming up this Saturday. Now, in case you guys might have missed that information, we got you guys hooked up. You'll be able to catch Justin this Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m. at Pro Wrestling Blitz at the St. Joe's Park venue. It's at the intersection of Rainier and Theodore in Joliet, Illinois. Ticket information is available at his website, also at pwblitz.com or prowrestlingblitz.com. It'll take you to the same website. Either way, you win. Can't really go wrong with that. He's also going to be doing some stuff with Elite Pro Wrestling on Friday, November 2nd. Also, he'll be heading back to the MECW on Saturday, November 10th for their 5th year anniversary. So make sure you show him some love. Hit him up. Check out those events that he's got coming up. Also, befriend him on Twitter when you get a free moment. You can hit him up at the Justin Reno on Twitter. On Facebook, same name as well. He's on YouTube, Same name as well. He made it very easy for you guys to find him. Also, while you're at it, take the time out, go check out Scooter. We got to show our boy some love. He's got some new mixtape that's in the making right now. Should be coming out this December, but in the meantime, he has a couple of tracks that is out floating around. You can check him out on his official website at iamscooter.com. That's IAMSCOODA, iamscooter.com. Check out his website when you get a chance. You'll thank me later. Two really awesome guys that are family of the RCWR show that always are willing to come on by, kick back, and have some fun. Definitely appreciate you guys that had checked out that episode, because that episode of Log, we had pulled in so many downloads and so many live listens. We really appreciate it. You have made that quickly be an overnight sensation. Make sure that you check that out if you weren't able to check out the episode. Also, I have to acknowledge this because apparently we had a few people that had actually donated. That was really nice of them. Apparently, we got to pull our WWE 13 video on YouTube because a couple of people, they had tried to enter the contest, and they clearly had missed all the information we had provided in the video and the information that we had provided in the video description, letting them know that the winner was to be selected on the 100th episode of the RCWR show, which was October 23rd. So some of you aren't reading the dates there. The contest is over. Unfortunately, nobody won due to lack of donations. I'm not going to go into the whole 9 yards. You would have to backtrack to that 100th episode of the RCWR show where we explain everything that had happened. Now, on a brighter note, those of you that did donate, we will be matching that donation and exceeding it. I'm trying to work out the details with Zed, co-producer Tammy, and figure out what exact amount we're going to be giving to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. I think it could be anywhere between 50 or 100. I want to try to go for 100, but as soon as we know the exact amount, we'll definitely share it with you guys. And we'll actually be able to share it with you guys as early as this Tuesday, as I know we're supposed to be all getting together and figure out how much we're going to be donating to them. So we'll have an official number this Tuesday night on our Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show. But again, for those that had donated, we thank you humbly. Nice to know that you guys appreciated the worthy cause that it was for. And if we do happen to have a donation thing happening from here on out, I think what's probably going to end up happening is that we'll probably set it up in a way where you can always donate at your own leisure, and that money can be used for special contests that we'll be throwing, as we'll put our own money in it too. That way we can have some type of a really cool pool going where everybody will have a shot at winning something cool. Once I get done trying to iron out the details on that, I'll give you guys more information, but we'll still have the donation tab thing up. We're just going to restructure it a little bit. And so we have the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that's going to be coming up this Sunday from hot Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be the fourth installment of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. What better way to get ready for that than by checking out an all-new episode of the RCWR show, Call That Match Special. You'll be able to hear it this Saturday on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at Infinity One Productions. I'll get you guys my picks, let you know who I think is going to be walking out of Atlanta victorious with that big fat W. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. You'll be able to check that out. And it all leads into the RCWR post show that's going to be covering the fallout from Sunday's pay-per-view. We'll be having live fan reactions. And if you remember how we had did it the last go-round from our TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view, that's exactly what you can expect the same time around. We're going to have the whole live fan interactions. It's going to be happening off the break. So if you happen to be in school, you got college going on, or you got to work a double or what have you, We'll try to look out for you, get your reactions if you see the pay-per-view and all that. It's going to be really awesome. Make sure that you're able to join us. Again, coverage begins this Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, going into Sunday at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So make sure you check out those really two cool, awesome shows. So let's talk about what's been happening very briefly in TNA wrestling-related news, and it's been pretty much quiet since last we were on the air with you guys. I know one thing that had jumped out at us that we heard about was that Spike TV plans to film King Mo's training down in OVW. That's right. Now, the director of operations for OVW, Frank Miller, not to be confused with the Sin City Frank Miller, he tweeted the following about Spike TV doing a 2-hour special on King Mo. He said, and I quote here, Spike TV will be at the Davis Arena filming our new show and filming parts of a 2-hour Spike TV special on MMA King Mo and his coach, me. So, no comment there. I have to see how it's going to be executed. Also, remember, there was a rumor going around earlier this week that a possible member of the Aces and Eights was in the hospital. That possible member is none other than Wes Briscoe, who had strongly been rumored to be part of the faction a good while back. He had announced that he had been in the hospital for the past few days. And as we had just saw earlier tonight, we did see him in those very last few seconds of Impact Wrestling Live. So nice to know that he's back up in good spirits again. Also, we got some Eric Bischoff news for you guys. He recently did a interview where he was talking about the current TNA creative direction, Gut Check. Nice little recap. It's a really, really good read. What we'll end up doing is we'll post it all on our Facebook page, but just to give you a taste of his mind, let's just pick it up where he talked about TNA Gut Check. And this is a direct quote from Eric Bischoff. He said, "The Gut Check was a format that myself and my partner, Jason Harvey, kind of created and brought into TNA as a means to create a reality element within the show on a monthly basis. I think it's showing some great talent in there. I think the deliberation process is entertaining as hell. I think there's been some surprises. I know we've all been surprised because it's live television and anything can happen. There's been some things that have happened that were totally out of our control and we would have never guessed were going to happen. Overall, I think the segment is a very good segment. I think we're still kind of developing it, meaning we're fine-tuning the concept. I don't think it's as good as it can be quite yet, but we're getting there. Any kind of reality element in our show, I think, is a good thing. It's a way to introduce new creative, new angles, new talent in a way that's just outside of our regular formula. Wrestling has been so long by so many people in so many different ways that it's hard to come up with anything that feels new. The Gut Check format or elements within the format definitely gives us that kind of new feeling. I wouldn't want to build an entire show around the format, that format, week in and week out, but it's certainly a great segment to have happen once a month. It just feels fresh. I'll read you one other piece, and it had to do with Impact Wrestling airing live. Direct quote once again. It's all the difference in the world, but it's a big difference because of the same reason. The audience in a live show, particularly when they know this is a live experience, they come to the arena, whether it's the UK or even the Impact Zone, which is still very challenging even though it's live because of the nature of the sound stage and a tourist attraction. But even when it's the sound stage, the crowd knows the show is live and they come to the venue with a higher expectation. They're more engaged. They have a higher level of energy that really translates or connects with the performers. They feel it. The crowd is more intense. These guys are athletes, actors, artists, performers. And such, They react much differently to a highly energetic crowd than they do to a more passive crowd, which is one of the reasons why we love coming to the UK. The crowd brings an entirely different level of energy and actually becomes a character within the show. As I said, as soon as we get done doing the show tonight, because I don't believe it's on our Facebook page yet, we'll post all of these good snippets that Eric Bischoff had to say. And for those of you that might be wondering, I will give you one last tease from this Eric Bischoff piece, as there's plenty of good stuff still that you can read from this interview that he did. The question that some of you maybe haven't considered is possibly a curveball on the possibility of returning as an on-camera personality. Direct quote, "I doubt it. I don't really look forward to it. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've had the opportunity to do. AWA, WCW, WWE, TNA. I've enjoyed all of it on camera. I love to perform, and I think I'm half-assed good at it. But I've kind of been there and done that. Unless there's a new character, I don't really have the desire to come back and do things I've already done a bunch of times." So there you have it, folks. Other than that, the only other thing that has been happening in TNA wrestling-related news really hasn't been too much of anything. We had the lovely Miss Sarita, who had recently did an interview with ESPN Deportes, Spanish version of ESPN, and she basically had talked about wanting to join WWE down the road, and she basically had said that she has a few short-term goals for herself, and one of those goals is to wrestle in the WWE. She had briefly talked about TNA, mentioning that she's still doing some overseas promotional work for them, and not really too much more of TNA other than that. So as far as when she's going to be coming back to TNA, doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon, so to speak. So it is what it is, folks. I'm more curious into knowing when the hell is lovely Velvet Sky going to be popping up. One other thing, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. Matt Morgan had, not Matt Morgan, but Matt Hardy. I got my Matts mixed up. Forgive me, folks. He recently had did a interview where he was talking about the problems that Raw has been having going 3 hours. Now, we had talked about this, and, man, we were just really all over the place when we were talking about it. But what he had to say about Raw going 3 hours was really a eye-opening experience right there. But he even shared the same sentiments to what we had said on the Tuesday Night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR Show, which is basically it's a little bit too much. Now, let me read you a direct quote that he said here, and basically the question is asked what he thinks WWE can do to improve themselves and compete with other TV. Direct quote, and then we're going to open up the phone lines here. "I don't think it has to be too tacky. I think it does need to be edgy in some ways. Once again, it's just like last night. I watched the show, Raw, and this is one thing to segue into for a second. One thing I hope they do in promoting the TV style is using the qualities that Southern wrestling is based on, a new, more edgy, engineered product that when you tell the fans one thing, you don't go back on your word. You stay consistent with that. Last night, for instance, there was a storyline. Who knows what it'll develop into, where AJ was removed from being the general manager of Raw because of some controversial dinner date she had with John Cena, and Vicky Guerrero was placed in charge. Vicky said that she had been Vicky has been fraternizing with Dolph Ziggler the whole while she was the general manager, and she was also married to Edge. The thing is, wrestling fans aren't dumb. They remember these things, and I think the fans see something like that. They go, why would they do that? that they didn't do that before, they don't think I don't remember that. Do they think I'm stupid? I think you just need to keep a consistent thing. I think the days of letting the person that's the general manager of Raw be a heel and cheat and do bad things, or have someone you just considered yourself or tagged to be a crazy chick like AJ as a general manager who put Vince in charge. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think if you want wrestling to be taken seriously, you have to promote it seriously and stay consistent, and there has to be continuity throughout. Now, some of you may be saying, why are you bringing up Matt Hardy talking about WWE? Well, duh. Matt Hardy used to be in TNA. How quickly some of us forget. What was that little in-ring gimmick thing he had going on? Ice cold. Matt Hardy sounded like a ice-cold bottle of beer. Let's go ahead now and let's open up the wrestling fan line. You can hit us up right now, Kickback, Smile, and Dow. Hit us up at area code 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Kickback, Smile, and Dow. If you're new to the show and you're calling in for the first time, let us know your first name, where you're calling from. If you've called before and it might be your second or third time, unfortunately, if you come on the show and you say, hey, this is Billy, we aren't really going to remember you unless you've been consistent calling in. Then we can look at your area code and we just know who you are. Just a little FYI for you guys. So let's go now to the 804 area code. You're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, this is me, Mackenzie Sykes from Richmond, Virginia.
I'm sorry, say your name again?
This is Mackenzie Sykes from Richmond, Virginia.
Ah, yes. Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
So how'd you like Impact Wrestling tonight?
I really liked it, but I didn't know that he used after Aries used the second knuckle, the second this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that to knock out Ken Anderson. That is just punched him in it. It's so awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward. Controversial as it was, the W is the W, though. What did you make of what had happened with Devon and Bully Ray there? Did that keep you very glued to the seats there?
It did. I really like Bully Ray's promo.
Mm-hmm.
They don't cut promos like that these days. It's just pretty rare to hear one.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Well, good thoughts from a new caller. We like that. Well, we thank you for calling in. We got a few more people on the line here. Let's go now. I believe we got Homie on the line. Homie, you live.
Hey, what's up, Vic?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, first off, I want to say congratulations on the 100th episode. I wasn't able to call in that night, so I want to say something after you.
Thank you.
Impact was good. I thought the ending was kind of corny. I would have liked it to have Aries into the night, having, him showing off the belt, saying he's going to take it with him, not aces and eights, ending it again. I mean, I know that it's all around them right now, but I think Aries right now is hot and he's on fire. I would have loved that. I'm totally with you on the segment with Billy, with Bubba and Devon. That was perfect. I'm actually excited for next week to see them go at it, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Shenanigans can happen. Never know. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I thought it was a good Impact. The main event was pretty good. I mean, what do you expect between Angle and Hardy? You're going to expect a great match.
Yeah.
So other than that, I loved it. It's a pretty good Impact.
Let me pick your brain on one thing now. I want to get your thoughts on this whole thing with Jesse and Tara. I mean, we see this Jesse guy who's got a great physique. I mean, let's be honest here, and I mean it's close to midnight. It's close enough. I mean, they're setting this guy up to be very bitchy feminine. What's been your take on this whole Jesse guy so far?
I don't care for him at all. He does seem kind of like a sissy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen any highlights of him in a wrestling ring before, so I can't judge him as a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But next week he's going to look like a big bitch. You know, he's going to go out there and get his ass kicked by ODB. And I would love to see an Eric Young run in. Maybe Tara comes out and helps him, and then you see Eric Young come out to save the day. But he looks like a big wussy to me. All that physique, and he looks like a feminine. You're right. He looks like a little girl out there. Tara looks tougher than him.
Now, what do you think TNA can do with Jesse before it's too late? You know, what I don't want to say what angle could you possibly see, but given the spot, and it looks like it's really a rough one right now because the way it's looking, it's like, Jesse, you either work with this or we got nothing for you. Can you see Jesse working this new angle with Tara in a way where it can kind of make him look strong, look kind of relevant, and be spoken with names like Big Robbie, Robbie E., or is he just doomed?
I think he's doomed. I mean, honestly, he looks like the woman of the relationship. You know, I had to wash myself 6 times to get the sin off me. You know, stuff like that. It's just, you're a wrestler, dude. I mean, come out there and be tough and be strong. He looks like a knockout. I mean, you could put him in the knockout division. He'd fit perfectly. In my opinion. He just doesn't do it for me. I mean, all that hype and all that stuff for him, and this is what we're getting. I mean, I think that's the only downfall from Impact tonight was, I mean, I like Tara and I like Tess Marker. She's okay, but he doesn't need to be at ringside all the time, and I just don't care for him.
Right. I agree with that 100%. You're not going to get any argument out of me. Homie, thank you for that, and thank you for that 100th episode wish there. I see we got a good long-time buddy of ours. He hasn't been in the chat room for a good minute there. Shout out to Best Dave Ever. He usually checks out the show from time to time when he gets a moment. We also got to show some love to our good friend Jesse Sutton on Twitter. He always has 1 or 2 really good things to say that just sums up his experience about what he was checking out on Impact Wrestling. He usually cherry picks 1 or 2 things that kind of jumped out at him. In this case, just to pick up on what me and Homie were talking about with regards to Jesse, looks like the question was put out there by us on Twitter earlier tonight. So Jesse is being set up to be a bitch next week, huh? As far as taking on ODB, and Jesse kicked back in and he said, not TNA Jesse, this is Jesse Sutton, a loyal listener. He said, yes, he is. And he also had something to say with regards to aces and eights. He said, just put aces and eights and the TNA superstars in a cage or a good old bull rope match. That way nobody can run like a biatch. You might be on to something there. Maybe we could see a Survivor Series type of match coming up. I don't know, man. You might be on to something. Let's go now to our good friend Dave in the Michigan area. Dave, you live, my friend.
Hey, how's it going, Lee?
Hey, pretty good, man.
I don't know how you're going to do that call that match special. I've seen the lineup card. It looks horrible.
I was thinking about that. You know what I'm going to end up doing, since we were given a round table on Tuesday night? I'm going to include like some of that, because I mean, you know, I think you admit, you know, they was really just all over the place when we were talking about Hell in a Cell. So I figure I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and then I'll just combine it with what I did earlier in the week, and I'm going to try to make it be as entertaining as hell. I'm going to try. I mean, you know, you can only do with so much of nothing, though.
I mean, is it just me, or does Hell in a Cell just seem like a throwaway pay-per-view to get to Survivor Series?
It really does come off like a throwaway, yeah.
Well, enough about that. Tonight, it was okay. I mean, it was good. A Hardy angle, of course, that's going to be good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did like some of the stuff they did, not really so much with the Jesse and Tara. That's getting a little annoying. Mm-hmm. But one thing I'm getting annoyed with, it's TNA and WWE both, is the announcers. I miss the announcers from the 90s. How you had one heel announcer and one face announcer. Mm-hmm. And now it's like it's all a mixture of one, you know? Mm-hmm. And you get, like, with SoCal Val backstage, like, I want good champions who aren't going to cheat, like you guys. And then it's like, really? And Chavo said, well, we cheated all the time.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, SoCal Val, can't give her enough praise. I mean, she's kind of cute. I mean, she was doing overtime tonight on that backstage pass.
I'm glad we don't got to see Jeremy Borash in the main event, though, doing the whole little to get away to Christy Hemme. I'd much rather look at her than him.
Yeah, true that. What was your takeaway from Devon and Bully Ray?
I love that. I mean, I can't believe he got the drop. I don't know if he got the okay to drop those ECW and WE. I don't remember that ever being in WCW. Mm-hmm. But I think they did win the WCW tag titles back with the Invasion thing.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, yeah, because I don't even remember them in WCW.
Yeah. But I just can't believe he dropped the names like that, which, of course, everyone knows the WE. Mm-hmm. You're never going to hear the WE drop a TNA name or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I love that. I just hate the fact that I hope they don't do it next week. I think that should be saved, like you were saying, because it could be so much better if you just wait and wait. Like Austin Aries and Jeff Hardy thing. Mm-hmm. Which it seems like TNA is doing stuff so poorly early. It's getting better, but it's getting worse, too. I can only think of one match that didn't involve an ex-WE guy. That's it. Everyone else is either they're ex-WE champions, or champions in TNA now. Mm-hmm. I mean, the main event was Jeff Hardy versus Kurt Angle, the two most recognizable guys in TNA. Mm-hmm. And you have Chavo and Hernandez, Chavo, WE, RVD, WE, Tara, and Tessmacher, both WE. I think it was Joe and, Rob Terry, the only two guys who weren't in the WE.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason why, is because they're putting emphasis on these ex-guys, hopefully drawing ratings, I guess. I just have a big problem with AJ Styles not having a title shot. When's the last time he's a world champion?
It's funny you mention that, because I was just thinking about AJ Styles as I was watching tonight's episode, and I said to myself, okay, where the hell is AJ? You know, his name should be thrown in there. And I just think it's so weird that guys like AJ Styles is just being seriously overlooked right now. And, you know, no disrespect to Joey Ryan, I just think it's really weird to just see him come into the scene, and he is the one that's going to be posing a threat to the, the X Division title that RVD is holding. I would actually prefer to see AJ Styles get into a little bit of a feud with RVD. It's kind of rare here that we get RVD and AJ Styles going at it. I think they would really have a phenomenal rivalry, let alone the matches. Yeah, it's funny you mention it. Thanks for that call, Dave. Yeah, I was thinking about AJ Styles all throughout the night. I'm like, where is AJ? It would be really nice to see him. You know, now that I really think about it, it's like the focal point. Yeah, it's a lot on ex-WWE guys. And sooner or later, TNA is going to have to go to that point where they're going to have no choice but to create new stars. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise that they got this new TNA gut check thing that's going on. But, of course, we got the many that are asking, when are these people that's winning TNA gut check contracts going to be coming up to the main roster? Hey, you got me on that one. There's quite a few people. I've been waiting patiently to see the lovely Miss Taylor Hendricks. That's one. I'm curious to see where she is right now. I know last we had saw her on her own respective TNA gut check. She looked very ripe. Very curious to see where her progress is now. There's quite a few people I would not mind seeing right now. I tell you what, my eyes are going to be set on this guy that's going to be coming into the TNA gut check next week, Mr. Christian York. I want to see what this guy can do in a singles match. I mean, 16 years experience. That says a lot in my book. I mean, he would have to be fumbling big time to not get an opportunity to win a TNA gut check contract. So that's all I'm going to have to say about that. Well, we had a pretty good show tonight. I thank those of you that had called into the show for the first time. You're more than welcome to call back again. Hey, if this is your first time checking out tonight's show, hopefully you enjoyed it. Come back, check us out. We got to cover the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and as you heard Dave say there earlier, we're going to try to do our best. I mean, we're not really working with much that WWE is giving us, but I will promise you this. You're going to love our Call That Match special. I'm going to do my best to give you some ideas on what you can expect. Now, if you had checked out the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show, you kind of have an idea of what you can expect, but I'm really just going to go all balls out and just give you a whole in-depth look. So check that out. It's going to be a pretty solid episode. Call That Match special is going to be airing this Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to hear it right here on this website. And we're actually going to do something new. We're going to give you up-to-the-minute last update on the card that you'll be able to expect for Sunday's pay-per-view. As the show that you'll hear on Saturday, you'll be hearing it for the first time. We were going to make it be an exclusive to our YouTube audience, but we decided we wanted for everybody to check it out at the same day on the same time. So our YouTube audience, you'll be able to check it out at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, right along with everybody that'll be able to check it out live on Blog Talk Radio. But we're going to have an up-to-the-minute last update on the Hell in a Cell card. There's been one or two little tweaks that's happened, as initially our Call That Match special was done earlier in the week. Not too much update we'll have to give. Pretty much what's been happening with the pre-show. That's a yawn right there. I'll chime in my thoughts on that one. But it's going to be really cool. Check it out. And, of course, join us for the fallout that's going to be happening from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this Sunday at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern, where we'll have live fan reactions. You'll be able to interact with us all throughout that episode. It's going to be really badass. Check it out when you get a free chance. Meantime, talk of wrestling doesn't end right here. Be sure to check us out at our website at InfinityOneProductions.com. While you're at it, hit us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Like our page. Befriend us. Hit us up on Twitter at InfinityOneProd. Be sure you subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zoom Marketplaces, keywords, the RCWR Show. Till we hear from you guys this Saturday for our Call That Match special covering Hell in a Cell at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern right here. I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. We will see you guys this Saturday. Everybody, do take care.